Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be reviewing the all-new 2024 Porsche Cayenne. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Porsche here in Salt Lake City, Utah for giving me some time with this new Cayenne. I'm going to include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Powering this is a 3-liter turbocharged V6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 17 around town and then 23 on the highway, with power outputs being 348 horsepower and then 368 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see just like other Porsche models, how it's raised there behind the headlights. And of course, we've got the emblem front and center. And speaking of lights, look at that design, really cool. And then you guys can see down below as well. And then notice how everything's been blacked out here on the front end. We also have parking sensors. Putting it all together, I think the new front end design makes the Cayenne look a bit bulkier, and I think that's really cool. Now, tire and wheel setup is 255, 55, 20 in the front, and then 295, 45, 20 in the rear, so slightly staggered setup here with the Cayenne. And then notice how the brake caliper has been blacked out to match the rest of this car. Now, you guys can see the fender flares and then the bodywork along the side there, and then notice how stuff like the mirror caps and the door handles are all body painted. And that leads us to the side view here with the Cayenne, and as you can see, again, it just flows in normal Porsche fashion. Now here's a look at the key fob. You guys can see the Porsche logo there at the top, and we've got our lock and unlock in the opening for the hatch, and I love how the key fob looks like a car. Now popping inside, you guys can see we have a cargo cover built in from the factory, and we've got some nice netting here on the side for storage. And then we also have a spare tire underneath as well, and then this trim right here looks really premium. But yeah, overall storage space in the Cayenne is enormous. That's why people love this one. And then you guys can see we still have a little Porsche there at the top for the closing with the hatch, which I think is cool. Now in the back we have really cool looking taillights. As you can see, that's what the turn signal would look like, for example, but notice how it's like all connected across. Of course, you got the Porsche logo there, Cayenne down below, and then we've got parking sensors here at the rear and covers over the exhaust tips. And putting it all together, let me know what you guys think about the new style here with the Cayenne. Now popping inside, you guys can see we've got this two-tone interior. So we've got the black at the top, and then look at the beige down below, and then that has such a nice click to it with the window control. I know a random point, but notice here how that goes to the door handle itself. Everything has like a very nice tactile feel to it so far. And then you guys can see with the seats, and it's perforated all down the center. We do have some adjustment action there on the side, but yeah, you can see the two-tone there with the center. Now legroom here in the back is actually really good, and then you guys can see we've got a little storage net there, and then we have some vents here in the back, and then we have our own climate zone as well. And this is really cool for the seats. You just press the little seat itself. This is actually for the temperature, the little switch up above. Again, it has a nice tactile feel to it. And then you probably already saw here in the center, but we of course have a cup holder armrest, and I like the feel of the leather in here. And then headroom, it's good. Now taking a look at the front door panel, you guys can see again with the two-tone design here, and then I love that trim that goes across as well. We've got memory seat functionality, and you can see all the window controls here for the hatch, and then the mirror adjustments. They do power fold in, and there's a quick look at the mirrors. Now taking a look at the front seat, you guys can see perforated all down the center portion. We've got all of our power adjustments here on the side, and then Cayenne down below. Just a quick look at the pedals, and then you have the light control, which is actually really easy to use. So you press this and it'll pull up with a menu in the gauge cluster. I'll show you guys a little bit later, but I really like that. And you can see the stop start button here on the side. So yeah, no key or anything to turn, just stop start button now. Now here's a look at the steering wheel. Really nice trim all around. We do have paddle shifters there on the back for that 8-speed automatic transmission. We also have our drive mode select here on the steering wheel, which just has such a cool feel to it. And I like the overall design. It feels very open. It has a light feel to it as well, so I think they did a great job with that. And then we still have a bunch of stocks here in the back for different functions like cruise control, windshield wipers, all of that. So we have this giant digital gauge cluster in the center, and this is one of the coolest gauge clusters I've seen in a car. So, I mean, look at how many different ways I can kind of like change things into the old Porsche setup with all the gauges if you feel like that is what you're most comfortable with. But I mean, look at this. I'm still like not done yet. There's so many different like ways to cut this cake, I guess we could say. But then we also have the drive modes, by the way. So normal, sports, and then we have an off-road mode as well. So they keep things simple with that. Now, sorry about the beeping from the parking sensors. We're in a tight garage, but you guys can see 360 camera system, tons of different viewpoints here with the Cayenne, which I think is really cool. So yeah, super solid camera system, which is great. Again, it's a larger SUV, so it's nice to have. Now, as for the infotainment system itself, we'll just kind of get through this little menu here. You guys can see we have a shortcut bar here on the side, and I mean, response time with this is really good. As you can see, I mean, pressing things happens instantaneous, and I feel like they've made this really user-friendly. Like, everything just makes sense. It's easy with the menus. It's very like legible, if that makes sense, with everything. So yeah, overall I'd say solid system. And right next to that we have our whole gear selector set up, as you can see, and then look at this trim down below, and then you can see up above on the dash as well with the leather. Very high quality looking, really solid fit and finish too. Now you guys can see the vents down below, and we've got this little storage area is what we will call it. It has wireless phone charging pad, USBs, all of that. And we have our climate control tab for the front, and then that's also for the radio control. But it's really cool. It's haptic feedback, so like here's for the air conditioned seat. So kind of like it's almost like the whole piece kind of moves a little bit. Definitely interesting, but very nice tactile feel again with all of this. And then got more storage right here, some cup holder action, and then even the center console has like a nice kind of feel to it. It's crazy. They did a good job. And by the way, it holds in place wherever you put it, for those of you that are wondering. And then we actually have grab handles here. I guess the Cayenne sticking to its off-roader roots from when it was originally released, which I think is pretty cool. Now up top we got our control here for the sunroof. We have a full panoramic sunroof, and then a nice cloth headliner. So here's the window sticker for this Cayenne. You guys can see base MSRP $79,200. This has quite a few options added to it, as you can see. It looks like one of the biggest packages is that Premium Plus package, but also this interior, right, with the leather and everything is another pretty big package. But anyways, after all options, this particular one stickers for $100,710. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about the visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both the mirrors, and throughout the rest of the rear. And yeah, the shifter, pretty interesting, but I will say that does free up a ton of space, so you can have everything that's happening here in this center console. But some of you, I guess, might want like a more traditional shifter, but I feel like nobody really well, I shouldn't say nobody, but it seems like everyone's going away from that. But anyways, let's talk about how this new Cayenne drives. And I am extremely excited to drive this because, you know, just based on the appearance, you know, when you compare this to like the previous Cayenne, it seems like they might be going back towards like more of like an off-roader type thing with the Cayenne. That's what it originally was when it was released. Like they had like off-road packages and everything. You've got the new 911 Dakar, and so I won't be shocked if we see like a Dakar-like package on this new generation Cayenne. Again, it has this like bigger, taller, more off-road, you know, rugged SUV appearance compared to what it had before. So I think it's interesting, but we will see what happens. Seat comfort's really good with the Cayenne, so I think that's kind of something that Porsche has always just done a really good job with, is their seats. The engines and the transmission, both super smooth. Like, man, Porsche knows how to make powertrains. Just, yeah, it's so seamless. Again, this is turbocharged, but like, and this is the entry-level powertrain. That's the crazy part. You know, we're surely gonna get, you know, Turbo S and maybe even a GT on this as well. Auto stop start is also pretty seamless, so that's good. Yeah, I love the torque feel that this has. You know, something that people always talk about is there is horsepower and then there's Porsche horsepower. And I think that this is another example of Porsche horsepower. Again, you see the power figures and you're like, oh, you're like, it's not bad, but you're like, that's not crazy. But then when you actually drive this, it feels way torquier. What is that? I guess there's something new over there. I didn't know that. It feels way torquier than you would expect. It's quite impressive, actually. I think that's pretty cool. Now, the next thing is the steering. It's very direct feeling, and it's got like a nice weight to it. It's not overly heavy, but it's got enough heft to it that you feel like you're driving something that's sportier. But it's, again, the suspension's still really comfortable. You know, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and ask me about this compared to BMW X5, and then the other one would be, you know, the new Range Rover Sport. And what this feels like so far, I want to get an acceleration just to kind of confirm. This almost feels like those two vehicles combined. Like, it has the comfort of the Range Rover, but then the sportiness of the BMW X5. But then what this has that over both of those is super solid build quality. I mean, BMW's modern build quality is actually really good, but like, you can't beat Porsche. Like, everything is super tight in this interior. Like, everything just feels very, very well put together overall. Okay, so we are continuing along here in the new Cayenne. I'm in the sport mode. Again, super seamless. I'll actually pop it into the manual mode there for a second. I just want to see how the gear shifts feel. Yeah, I mean, paddles are super responsive, so I think that is a big plus as well. Yeah, that's great. I guess you can also pull the transmission selector down from manual to automatic. Can you do plus to go back into auto? Interesting. So yeah, I guess we'll get like a bigger acceleration here, and then we'll sum things up with the Cayenne. So, oh, of course we got someone. We got a Corolla that's got to slow us down a little bit. Okay, there we go. This thing, again, there's horsepower, and then there's Porsche horsepower. That's really cool that you can just press that down. I mean, I know it's like supposed to do that, but it's just nice how seamless that is. So to cap things off here with the new Cayenne, I actually really like the kind of like bigger, bulkier look. I think it's really cool. And then when it comes to the drive, I do think that the statement that I made earlier is relatively accurate, where it kind of feels like the Range Rover Sport combined with the BMW X5. It's got like the best of both worlds. But again, it's also has Porsche build quality, so like that's another thing. And they still have the Cayenne. Again, when you compare it to the competition, like, this is about how much a Range Rover Sport with their inline six is going to be. It's going to be about a 6-figure price tag. So, you know, obviously all these luxury SUVs are got a bigger price tag, but I mean, compared to the competition, it's reasonably priced for everything you get. So I'm really impressed. I'm, you know, excited to see some of the other packages on the new Cayenne as they come out, you know, like the S, for example. I think that'll be one that'll be really popular. You know, typically those are, and then the turbo and all that kind of stuff. But let me know what you guys think about the new Cayenne. But I think the combination of some of this new modern tech alongside Porsche driving dynamics mixes for a really good daily driver vehicle rather. Can't talk apparently. But also something that's very sporty that you don't necessarily get with a lot of other cars in the segment, or when you do get it, you concede some of the daily driverness. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll see you.